Hi, I'm Kenny Hotz, and you're watching Comedy Matters TV. And subscribe, damn it! Means a lot.
Okay, so I'm here at the Hyatt Regency at the 31st annual Just for Laughs Festival, and one of the nice things is running into old friends. And look who I see here, my good buddy Kenny Hotz. How are you, Kenny?
Very good.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Yeah.
You said
As
old
always.
friend. I just turned 46. I feel like an old friend.
But then you're a young friend.
That's true.
Yeah. So this year you're just chilling, right? You're just hanging out.
I performed for the past 5 years,
Right.
and I get so nervous whenever I perform. I stay up for like 2 friggin' weeks.
Do you really still to this
I do.
point, right?
Yeah, I'm like Sinatra and Woody Allen, same thing.
But it helps me to hear that because I still feel that I don't perform as much as you, but I've never gotten past that point. There's always a lot of anxiety around performing, and I don't think people know that because when you are performing, you look so calm that people can't tell. So what's going on inside, right?
Well, what's great when I perform, I really just work for myself. I'm the Führer. I'm the boss of my shows and everything I do. So, and all my crappy friends are surrounding me. So, for me, it's such a small crew. It's very easy for me to do. But anytime like I do, like I was in Zach and Miri or I do some other stuff, it's so much fucking pressure. It's unbelievable. I really, it's amazing how shitty I get when I have to go. Like when I did Conan and Kimmel and stuff, I was literally 6 months, like no sleep, just waiting to crash and burn. But you go on, you do good, and.
But we torture ourselves. That's the thing. I mean, it's amazing when the old expression, we're our own worst enemies. That fear. Were you at Colin's speech today when he talked about fear? Colin Quinn did the keynote speech. Did you happen to be there? Oh, he talked a lot about fear and how sometimes we pass things up because of fear. He was offered a big part in Mike Myers called him and offered him a part in Austin Powers, and he said, "Thanks anyway. I have my own stuff going on." and Mike was going, "No, but you don't have to audition. I'm flying you out. You have the part already." And he's like, "Mike, thanks very much. I have my own stuff that I'm working on," and he never did it. And he said that's one of his big regrets. It was really based in fear that he turned it down.
That's the same thing I said to Myers.
And he's still begging you, though. Right?
Yeah, that's
he
right.
Never stopped begging.
No, that's true.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing that in our field, it's everybody's greatest fear to do public speaking. That's the one thing. If you look in a book of fears, and I don't know if there is a book of fears, but I believe there is, everybody's greatest fear is public speaking. So what we do is so hard to get up in front of an audience and try to convince them that what you think is funny is actually funny. Your life is always on the line.
It's weird. That's why I never really did stand up. I've done it like a couple of times because it seems so awkward and narcissistic and egomaniacal to stand in front of people and do those jokes
and convince them that what you think is funny is funny.
Yeah, it's so strange to me to like actively go out there and try to make people laugh. And when you're performing on television or I'm doing my bits or whatever like that, for some strange reason I see this as a totally alternate tangent. So when I'm playing me, I'm fine. But, I'm not really an actor. I'm not really a stand-up. And, you and me, we have our doctorates in comedy. Like I literally spent I've had girls break up with me because I was watching fucking TV. So I have such a high respect for, I used to listen to the Woody Allen albums. And
while you're in the midst of an intimacy, you're watching over their shoulder, watching the television.
Yeah.
Right?
So, but
comedy
I kick myself because it's something that I've always wanted to do and I would love to do, and I think I'd be really good at it. It's just to cross that fucking road and to go do it. And then the other thing is just the whole subculture cult mentality that stand-ups have when you're sitting at a table with a bunch of stand-ups and they're all trying to outdo each other with
top
jokes.
each other. Yes.
That for me is so crazy. It's like ugh, like how I just, it's hard for me to be a part of it. It's like acting. Like I have had chances to do a lot of acting, but I love actors so much and I love movies so much that I just think I'm shit, and it's hard for me to believe that I can act.
It's funny how we do that to ourselves, and other people give you great acclaim, but to ourselves we see like what we think is the truth, but we distort the truth, and it works against us. It's very interesting. Comedians were always that way. They always had round tables. I got to, I was lucky. I got to know some of the greats, Milton Berle and Jerry Lewis and all those guys, Henny Youngman. They had round tables. They would sit around and try to top each other. That was what they did, and it came naturally to them. And I think it's just something generic about comedians that they try to outdo each other, not necessarily in a competitive way, but it just comes out, And it's pressure, man. I mean, if you're there, it's pressure. You want to look good to your peers.
My forte is quick wit. Like, I react to jokes, so I always need a foil or something to react to. That's where I work best. And the stand-up medium for me just isn't really. But you know what? There's a renaissance of it now, thanks to people like Louis C.K. So
But what's interesting to me, and I always mean to ask you this, because you're conceptual. Your shows are always, they're you, basically. You, as you said, you star in your own shows. I think you're the only Canadian-born comic who ever had 3 shows on American TV. Is that correct? I'm sorry.
Kenny versus Spenny, Triumph of the Will.
Kenny versus Spenny, Triumph of the Will. And Testes was the second one, and then Triumph of the Will.
Triumph of the Will was only on Al Jazeera.
And still is.
Yeah.
Right. But how did you get your start? Like, how did you make the break into actually doing stuff and getting a break on television?
You know what happened? My brother was the best fucking artist ever. Like, he was this Da Vinci-esque cartoon. Like, it made like the best graphic artist. And when I was 4 years old, I chopped my finger off on a bicycle. Oh, wow. So I couldn't draw. And I picked up a camera, and I was always so upset that he could draw and I couldn't. So I was, and then I went to Hebrew day school. So,
It's strange because you're not Jewish.
That's right. No, I say that, I was so abused for being Jewish. Anti-Semitism was crazy, but then I left Hebrew school. It's a terrible joke. But, so it was really just trying to match my brother, and then my parents sent us to film camp when I was 6 years old. So the first movie I ever made, I was 6, and then it was 1972. Henry Winkler showed up as Fonzie in Toronto and gave me a directing award. But even back then, even when I was doing some shitty cartoon, cutout animation, I was still like bossing everybody in my group around. I made them make my movie. So I think it naturally,
A natural extension for you.
Yeah.
But then how did you get your first break? Like, were you a teenager, when you were in your 20s, when you got your first show? How did that come about?
I was he sucked somebody off. And then you get.
We can edit that out, right?
Yeah.
What led up to it? I'm always fascinated by that.
Well, I was started making like funny documentaries, like comedy documentaries. I used to call them cockumentaries. Right. But you know what it is? It's really just luck. It's so scary. You try to make great stuff. You're unique. You have a voice, and things get into festivals. I started doing short film fest, and I did a movie called Pitch, which is Spenny and I trying to sell a script in Hollywood, where I run up to Pacino, and Neil Simon's in it, and Samuel Z. Arkoff. You can watch on my website.
Pacino was really in it?
Yeah, Pacino's in it, yeah. And it's a documentary about Spenny and I trying to sell a script in Hollywood. But we go to Arthur Hiller, who I always thought you were, and so that kind of started us. We started showing that movie in film festivals around the world, but the movie's really about 2 best friends turning against each other as our careers are collapsing. And when we saw people all over the world laughing at us, and then we just decided, you know what, might as well just do Kenny versus Spenny, which is not. Pitch was about 2 best friends selling a script. Kenny versus Spenny is about first one to sell the script wins. So it's a very slight little, change to the concept. And, it's like Cheech and Chong. Go on stage, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. One day Cheech comes out and does, some, Mexican, and all of a sudden, boom, the audience reacts.
But did you get that first meeting where you pitched it? I'm sure you remember that meeting, because that's like a life-changing meeting. That was your first show. Like, so how did that come about?
It's really funny. So the Pitch played the U.S. Comedy Fest in '99, and Will Smith saw it, and he gave us each 20 G's to go to L.A. and go pitch television. Really? So it's like our first boss.
That's the great story. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. There's a synchronicity in the universe. When you're on the right path, unusual things that you could never expect happen. So Will Smith happened to see your pitch?
Yeah. And once Spenny bumped into Matt and Trey on an airplane, and guess what? Turned out Kenny vs. Spenny was their favorite show in history. So these weird, obscure little snippets. That
Matt Parker and Trey Stone?
Yeah, Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker, right? Yeah.
And I even wrote South Park for a bit too, which was pretty crazy.
Did?
Yeah,
Really?
I was a South Park writer. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I sat there in a room. The extent of my work was, Matt always wanted health food and Trey wanted Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I had to raise my hand and decide which, who gets what. But those boys don't need. They're geniuses. I got squeezed in one Jew joke. I was there for maybe a couple months.
But you got to check. That's what counts.
Yeah. Did I ever? I know, which is so hard because you go there and you're working on other people's stuff, which I hate doing.
Yeah, I know.
And you're trying to ride your little wave, and it gets really dangerous to start working for other people because the money's so good and it's so easy. All of a sudden, I don't have to stay awake for a week or eat 30 pounds of meat. Or,
Right.
I invented a show, which the worst genre ever, where we literally have to torture ourselves for our audience. So even that concept was the stupidest concept you can ever do. Yeah, it's like Kaufman or Tom Green or...
Well, like Steve-O, how he damaged himself. Like he would get hurt so badly in the process of doing a show. You give all for your art.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's weird because it becomes a catch-22 because you always have to try and outdo each other. You outdo what you did in the past. And then once you start getting a fan base and you really know people are watching, it's so much pressure to go up the ladder, which is why I don't direct or do anything else. I don't like working for other people because I just want to do better and better and better. So, it's hard to get motivated to continually do that. And then it's hard to get, a shot where you're given your own show, which is really rare.
That's why I was asking you. It's amazing because you've had 3 shows already. But what I would say, it's good that you stopped because the only thing left was to kill yourself.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you already did something with a dead body, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I mean...
That was last night.
I'm glad you just... Yeah, right, in your room, alone.
Well, if I'm going to kill myself, it's going to be like Slim Pickens flying into Mecca on a massive, nuke. We'll see.
It's going to be crazy. Anyway, listen, so now just tell us your site so people can see, because I know you have like 11 million views on your...
14 now.
14 million views.
But Kenny vs. Spenny has 170 million views on YouTube. It's on over 5,000 channels.
And so what do people look for to see? Just kennyversusspenny.com or what?
Yeah, just go to kennyhotz.com or we're just starting a new Kenny vs. Spenny channel on YouTube.
And you've got over 60,000 subscribers, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I'm right about 70, yeah. But I've been ignored. I think I'd have like 1 million if I was, I got into digital so late because I had that Grateful Dead mentality. Just let everybody steal. I was illegally leaking all the shows to the internet under pseudonyms, anonymous and all this stuff. And I was just giving it away, which, I just thought, let people see it, and eventually that'll result in acclaim, and which it did. So, I figure don't make money on it, just be great and cool, and the cooler you are, the better luck you'll have.
Well, listen, man, it was great to see you as always. Looking forward to doing some fun stuff with you this year.
Good. Well, there's condoms in the gift bag they gave us. So.
Perfect.